So my name is Linda Samuels, and I am the new project director for the Sustainable City Project at the University of Arizona. And my team actually was a great group from Arizona as well. Tom Fisher from the city, Department of Transportation, Brent Kirkman from HDR Engineering, and Eric Scharf from Wheat Scharf Associates. And the project we brought was called Linking the Warehouse Arts District. Right now, Tucson is going through a major series of investments downtown, one of which is a brand new 4-lane road connecting the Barraza Aviation Parkway with Interstate 10 and a modern streetcar. The modern streetcar is a $200 million investment. The new road called the Downtown Links is actually an $80 million investment, and it's currently under construction. There's phase 1 that's completed and phase 2 that's in process. So those are two of the current investments. There are a series of other investments going on. There's been about $900 million of investments in the last 5 years. There are probably up to 20 current investments that we are looking at in this same area. So the problem we brought was, how do we take this momentum, how do we take this inertia, this moment of infrastructural optimism, and really capitalize on it? How do we coordinate these efforts? How do we make sure that we move forward to create the most sustainable city that we possibly can? So we were matched up with a great resource team, and actually one of the fabulous things is they came in with a diversity of experience. So one of our questions had to do with, how do we market this area? How do we market this particular area of downtown? Another question had to do with leadership. How do we develop leadership? So we worked with our team yesterday, and it took actually quite a while to explain the complexity of this project. So you have to really understand Tucson. It's kind of a unique neighborhood. It's a unique city. Its major problems really are that it's really hot and it's really dry. So it really calls for sustainability. We worked yesterday, we worked today, and I think we came up with 4 really great primary topics. The first topic that our team came up with is this idea of leadership. One of our goals is that we need project champions. We want these projects to move forward in the best way. We need champions in particular to make the Warehouse Arts District go the direction we want it to go. This leadership concept was to create some kind of mayor's blue ribbon roundtable committee, and that would be with people representing all of the different groups. So government, business groups, community groups, and arts groups. So the second idea was actually that we needed some identity. And so instead of linking the Warehouse Arts District, the presentation we did today was called Developing the New Ward, and we decided Ward would be a great catchy name, and it would stand for Warehouse Arts Rail District. So identity would include everything from signage to wayfinding to a kind of green idea about the whole neighborhood. It might be green roofs or solar that's visible from this new Downtown Links roadway, but that you could see the neighborhood, you could identify it from a distance, but once you were in the neighborhood, you would also recognize it as a highly sustainable bike, ped, transit-oriented neighborhood. So identity was our second issue. Our third issue actually was the concept of knitting rather than dividing. So in addition to having a railroad through downtown, this new Links Road runs directly adjacent to that railroad. But there are several opportunities to connect the north part of the city where the Warehouse Arts District is with downtown. So we identified not only existing underpasses that need to be spruced up with renovation work and probably public art, which was a great idea, but also this idea that we could connect over the railroad. And that got a lot of support. I think there was some great ideas, some great precedents and case studies that could go around that concept. So that was one way to knit the project, knit the city. The other way was to start thinking about the Downtown Links not as a roadway, but as a multimodal line. So it just happens to really accommodate cars first, but if we plan for all of the things it can do in the future, it already has bike amenities, it already has pedestrian amenities, but it could also have bus rapid transit or streetcar amenities in the future. So the idea is that this could be a corridor that would really support multimodal opportunities and sustainable development. The third idea was what we were calling O squared, and O squared is organization and outreach. So we have a lot of dispersed opportunities, but these opportunities really need to come together and be organized. So part of the job of this mayor's committee that we're hoping to establish would be to figure out, well, what are the priorities? How can we leverage investment? How can we link these projects together? How can we find funders? How can we find new funding opportunities? And how can we find a range of project champions? I think the other way we want to organize is to be sure to get developers and other investors in this area and property owners on board with a shared set of objectives. So if those objectives are, and we kind of came up with a short list, ped first, bike first, shade first. We think you can't really develop this neighborhood without thinking about those three things first. So if everything we look at goes through that priority list, then we've organized our values. We do a tremendous amount of outreach already. We have what's called community advisory councils, and they work well on each individual project, but we're hoping that instead of having individual input on projects from community members, that we might have community members and others look at the more holistic vision of what's going on in downtown Tucson. So I think if we get those 4 objectives rolling, we will have an even more sustainable city than we do right now.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned this morning that listening to the Greensboro team gave you some short-term ideas that you could do
Yes.
use in Tucson.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. The Greensboro team showed one project in particular that really inspired us, and they have renovated a pedestrian underpass through a public art project. And it added an incredibly unique vision and a lot of great light, and it became really an attraction, a social collective space. And we're looking for these short-term, not too expensive ideas that we can help our pedestrian links become more friendly, feel a little bit less dangerous, kind of feel like the link between north and south is as easy as it is in the brand new underpass we have on 4th Avenue. I think the other thing that came out of that that's exciting is that we really felt like Greensboro had a lot of the same issues that we have, and that 2 small cities might be able to work together to gain some kind of advantage, when we're sitting at the table with much larger cities.
Great. Awesome. I love it. 8 minutes.